I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the book of Mark, chapter 5. Let's focus on verses 18 through 20. As he was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed kept begging Jesus to stay with him, but he would not let him go. Instead, Jesus told him, "Go back home to your own people and report to them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." Now, having left the religious Jewish town of Capernaum, Jesus departed by boat to the other side of the Galilee. Scripture says he did this because the crowds in Capernaum were growing too large. And the region of the Gerasenes, aka the Gadarenes, was a Gentile region. It is essential to know that religious Jews don't mix with Gentile communities. And I say this simply to point out a practical reason for Jesus' journey to the other side of the lake. If you want to be left alone by a large crowd of religious Jews, the region of Gerasene was the right destination. So it can't be assumed that everyone, or even hardly anyone that Jesus interfaced with in the region of the Gerasenes was Jewish. And if there were Jews in the Gerasene area, well, there wouldn't have been many of them, and they were by no means religious. So the plain fact that the community was farming pigs is another strong argument for the absence of Jewish people. So while the Jews were prejudiced against mingling with Gentiles, we know that Satan isn't. Satan wants to control all nations and people groups. And when Jesus and his disciples sailed into town, demons were tormenting the Gentiles, just as they had been tormenting the Jews in Capernaum. Remember, Jesus was casting out demons in the synagogue. And so this issue posed a perfect opportunity for the Messiah to communicate to his disciples that he was acting as the Son of David, right, the good shepherd who searches out the scattered sheep from Israel, no matter where they've wandered. And ultimately, that Jesus was also sent as the son of Abraham to redeem all the nations. You know, prejudice is essentially the demonization of a people group. And to undo prejudice, one must humanize the object of discrimination. For his disciples, Jesus was humanizing this Gentile. He wasn't just some dog, right? Some subhuman. He was a person just like them. And he was humanizing him in their own eyes, known in Scripture as a demoniac. Well, once the demons had left, what remained was a regular, friendly, likable guy. And Jesus was breaking down the prejudice of his disciples, and he was preparing them for the Great Commission. And as Jesus and his disciples were leaving, this man is pleading with Jesus to let him go with them. The Gentile wants to go with the Jews in the boat. And the shepherd of Israel's directive for this Gentile was for him to go back home to his own people. In obedience to Jesus' command, the former demoniac, right, this guy, evangelized what they call the Decapolis, which is the 10 Greek-influenced cities who were Gentile communities. And it's all further evidence that the man was a Gentile. Note the different response to Jesus' directives in Capernaum, where Jesus instructed ones that he had healed to not tell anyone, but to go to the priest and offer gifts that Moses had prescribed. Why? Because they were Jewish, and we have to make a testimony to the priest in Israel. But this is not the case with the former demoniac who is a Gentile. Jesus did not need a Gentile man to send the message to pagan priests of how Jesus was operating within Mosaic law. So in a sense, the former demoniac acted as a type of John the Baptist for the apostles. He went ahead of the apostles, preparing the soil of evangelism in the Gentile mission field by testifying of all that God had done for him through Jesus. Who are you testifying with about what God, through Jesus, has done in your life? I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Groundworks Ministries operates entirely through financial donations from faithful people like you. And your giving to Groundworks Ministries transforms lives. Would you consider making a donation to Groundworks Ministries today? Because we need your monthly support now more than ever. Donating is secure and it's easy at our website, groundworksministries.com. Now, another way to help is to tell people about Groundworks Ministries. Share these podcasts with friends and family and on your social media. And of course, you can always direct folks to our website, groundworksministries.com.